I'm Adam Goldfine. Thank you so much for joining me. We are live in studio with Jennifer Ammons, who is the General Counsel of the Department of Driver Services, and William Head, who is one of America's top criminal defense attorneys. Guys, thanks again so much for spending the time with us. Let's talk myths and misconceptions, right? So, Jennifer, if I asked you, when people are facing suspensions or revocations of their license, what is the biggest myth that the average citizen has?
I think a lot of people think that DDS exercises some discretion in whether or not to impose a suspension, the length of the suspension, the reinstatement requirements, particularly the reinstatement fees. If they just call us and ask us to change it or not do it, then we'll have the ability to do that, and that's just not the case.
So there's no crying in the DDS, is what you're saying? There's
we're
crying, but we can't modify the result. Is that what you're saying?
Right. It's a very mechanical setup in the law, and it's very much, if this has occurred, then this is what we're going to have to do. We're faced with very sympathetic situations all the time, and unfortunately our hands are usually tied.
So what happens if somebody is going in front of an administrative law judge and they want to bring their young children in, or they want to kind of show and bring some sympathy? Does that weigh at all, the hardship?
I would say typically not, particularly with the suspensions that the administrative law judges are hearing. They know that the statutes that they're looking at and the suspensions that DDS has imposed, it's all things where we've got notification about something that has triggered the suspension, and the very sympathetic story about hardship in the family, ill health in the family, single parents trying to just take care of their kids. Like DDS, the administrative law judges have no discretion typically in deciding whether a suspension should stay in place. Obviously when you're dealing with a fact case like an administrative license suspension,
right.
They do have more discretion there to assess credibility and things like that. But for the balance of them, of the hearings, the ALJs are just looking at the the driving record and the law, and really, they will listen to all those arguments, but I don't think that they're going to have a lot of ability to make decisions based on that. And people think they'll come in and express some sort of particularly hard case. Folks taking their kids to court, really don't recommend that. My experience in the courtroom is that judges really react badly to folks bringing their kids to court.
And Bubba, what would you say is the top misconception?
Let me go back to that. I'm glad the law is strict, because that's why you need a good lawyer before you get in trouble.
Okay.
That's exactly right, because again, you go in and lose, then you have nothing.
So
you better win.
So it might be that people think they can handle it on their own, or that their general practitioner could help them.
Oh yeah, a lot of people say, well, I'm not guilty. I don't need a lawyer for this. I'm not guilty. And then when they lose, they suddenly want me to correct it, and I can't. So DDS has no discretion. It's like a referee in a wrestling match. Just because you brought your grandmother in a wheelchair to sit and watch the match, the referee calls the rules as the rules are written. That's all they can do.
Even if the kids cry out in the ring. 404-872-0750 is the number. Robert from Smyrna, welcome to the program. Robert, hey, how are you? Good. Yes, sir. Yeah. So you're saying that if he's not observed actually driving or operating the vehicle, he can't be charged? I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought it was the reasonable belief that he had.
Well, there's a case called Felchland versus the state from 1981, in which the person was not in the car and had walked away from a traffic offense, and he ended up losing that case not only at court but on appeal. And in that case, there was actually a refusal. I think what we're talking about here is that on the per se law,